Mark had always loved the quiet hum of his small trade ship as it glided through the empty stretches of space. The stars outside the cockpit windows seemed like scattered diamonds on a black cloth. He had traveled far from Earth, visiting systems few humans dared to explore. Merchants often called him reckless, but he knew the value of risk. Out here, survival depended on sharp eyes, steady hands, and patience. This particular journey was supposed to be simple. He was carrying rare minerals to the trading hub of Orvia, a planet known for its bustling markets and curious inhabitants. The route was calm and his cargo secure when his ship's sensors detected an unusual signal. At first, he thought it was a glitch, a stray transmission bouncing across light years. But the signal was persistent, clear, and almost pleading. Mark's curiosity sparked. He traced the source to a small, uncharted planet orbiting a dim star. Its surface was green and blue with wide plains and silver rivers unlike anything he had seen before. When he landed, atmosphere was breathable and the sky glowed with a soft lavender hue. The moment he stepped out, a strange feeling passed over him, as if the planet itself was aware of his presence. Soon, a figure appeared on the horizon. She walked slowly, and despite her age, her posture was straight, her movements precise. She was taller than Mark expected, with a thin but strong frame. Her skin had a soft golden shimmer under the light of the planet, and her eyes were large and expressive, shining like polished amber. "Human," she said, her voice strong but carrying a weight that Mark could not place. "I am Elder Tira of the Vera. I have come to speak with you." Mark blinked. "Why me?" he asked cautiously. "I'm just a trader." The elder's gaze softened. "You are more than a trader. You are the one who can see what others cannot. You carry the heart our people need." "Right." Mark frowned. He had heard rumors about alien civilizations seeking humans for strange reasons, but he had never thought he would be chosen personally. "Heart?" he asked. "I think you may have the wrong person." Tira shook her head. "No, human. The wrong person cannot come this far. You have traveled where few dare. You possess patience, courage, and a mind that does not waver. These qualities are rare among your kind and even rarer among ours." Mark studied her carefully. There was something about the way she spoke, the calm authority in her voice. She did not ask for wealth or power. She seemed to ask for something far more important. Still cautious, he replied, "What do you want from me?" She gestured toward a structure behind her. It was built of silver and crystal, its surface reflecting the sky like a mirror. The architecture was unlike anything Mark had ever seen. The doors opened silently as they approached, revealing a hall filled with light. Yet it felt peaceful, almost sacred. "Come," Tira said. "My daughter waits. You must meet her." Mark hesitated. His mind raced with questions. Why would an alien elder ask a human to meet her daughter? Was this some kind of test? But curiosity won over caution. He followed her inside. The hall led to a room at the center of the building. In it stood a young woman, tall and graceful, with long silver hair that shimmered faintly. She wore simple robes, yet the elegance of her posture made it clear she was of noble birth. Her eyes were a deep violet. They met Mark's as if she had been expecting him all along. "This is Alira," Tira said softly. "She is the last princess of the Vera. Without her, our people have no future." Mark took a careful step forward. I don't understand." "Why me?" The princess stepped closer. Her voice was calm, but carried a quiet urgency. "Our people are dying, human. The bloodlines that sustained our culture for centuries are gone." The elders searched for a solution, and it was decided that the union with a human could restore the balance. "You are the one chosen." Mark felt the weight of her words press on him. He had traveled across galaxies for trade and adventure, never for destiny. He wanted to step back, to leave, to forget this strange encounter. But something in Alira's eyes made him pause. There was no arrogance, no demand for power. There was only hope, fragile yet shining. Elder Tira knelt slightly. "Mark, I beg you to consider our plea. My daughter's life and the future of our people may depend on your answer." I do not ask for wealth, nor for glory. I ask for your willingness to help." Mark swallowed hard. He could feel the sincerity in her voice. He could see the despair in her eyes. This was not a trick, not a threat. This was a request from a dying civilization to a stranger they believed could make a difference. He wanted to speak, to say something reassuring, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he nodded slightly. "I need to understand more. Why me? Why humans?" Tira's eyes softened further. "Humans endure where others falter. Your species has survived storms, wars, famine, and disease. You adapt, you persevere, and your will to live is unmatched. These qualities are needed to save our people. Alone, we are fragile. Together, we may survive." Lyra stepped forward, placing her hand lightly on a crystal console. The room shifted slightly, as if responding to her presence. A holographic image appeared, showing her people's history, great cities, advanced technology, and powerful leaders. And then, one by one, the images faded, leaving ruins and desolation. "Our ancestors built wonders," she said quietly, "but time has not been kind. Our leaders are gone, our knowledge lost. If no one steps forward, my people will vanish." Mark felt a lump in his throat. He had seen many civilizations, but the sadness and urgency in this room was different. It was personal, yet also universal. It was about survival, about hope. It's about the continuation of a culture that had endured for centuries. He looked at Alira again. She was not commanding him, not threatening him. She was asking, pleading, for someone to stand with her. He could see the strength beneath her sadness, the resilience that had kept her going despite the weight of her people's despair. Mark took a deep breath. I will listen. I cannot promise anything yet, but I will listen and try to understand." Tira smiled, relief washing over her features. "That is all we ask. Come, walk with us. Learn about our people and see what may be possible. Time is short, but understanding can be the first step." As Mark followed the elder and the princess through the crystal halls, he felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. He did not yet know what lay ahead or how he could possibly help, but he knew one thing clearly: he could not walk away. The future of the Vera was now intertwined with his own, and he could feel the weight of destiny settling gently on his shoulders. Outside, the lavender sky deepened as twin moons rose above the horizon. The wind carried the scent of unfamiliar flowers and the soft hum of distant rivers. Mark looked at Alira once more, and she smiled faintly. There was a quiet understanding passing between them. This was not a union of convenience, nor a simple act of duty. It was the beginning of something much larger, something neither human nor Vera had fully imagined. And in that moment, Mark realized that his life, which had been ordinary by human standards, had changed forever. He was no longer a traveler seeking trade or adventure. He was a witness to history, a participant in the survival of a civilization, and perhaps in ways he could not yet understand. A protector of a princess whose fate was now linked to his own. The elder's voice echoed in his mind as they walked toward the inner chambers. "Mark, the choice you make will not only shape our lives, but will show the stars what humanity is truly capable of." And Mark, feeling both awe and resolve, knew he was ready to listen, to learn, and perhaps one day to act. Mark walked beside Alira and Elder Tira through the long corridors of the Vera Palace. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting colors that seemed alive, changing with every step. Light flowed in a pattern that reminded Mark of moving water, though it was solid and warm to the touch. The palace was not just a home. It was a story. Every crystal panel, every arch, seemed to carry the history of the Vera people. Elder Tira spoke first, her voice calm but filled with urgency. "Mark, you have seen our ruins. You have glimpsed our past. But you have not yet met the full truth of our present."
No.
Mark nodded. "I want to understand. I need to understand if I am really meant to help." Tira smiled faintly. "It is not a question of being meant. It is a question of choice, of courage, and of willingness to see what others cannot. They entered a vast chamber at the center of the palace. The ceiling arched high above, opening to a view of the lavender sky outside. Floating softly in the air were small orbs of light, each glowing with gentle warmth. In the middle of the room was a pool of water so clear that the bottom was invisible. When Mark looked closer, he realized that the water reflected not only the present but faint images of the past, memories of the Vera people, their joys, their failures, and their long journey through the stars. Alira moved to the edge of the pool. Her reflection merged with the water's glow, and Mark could see the weight of responsibility in her eyes. "Mark," she began, "I am not asking this lightly. My people have suffered, and now we face the end. My mother's plea is more than tradition. It is survival. We need someone to stand with us, someone whose heart does not falter." Mark took a step closer. "But why me? I am human. I have no place in your traditions or your politics. I am just a traveler." Alira looked at him intently. "You are human, yes, but that is exactly why you are needed. Your people endure what others cannot. You adapt, you persevere, and you fight even when hope seems lost. That strength is not found in the Vera anymore. Our ways are old, and our courage has weakened. You bring a different kind of power, one that comes from choice, from will, from the heart."
Mark hesitated.
He had faced dangers before, but nothing like this. He had fought pirates, navigated dangerous trade routes, and survived storms in deep space. But this was different. This was not a challenge of strength or skill. This was a challenge of understanding, of connection, of responsibility for an entire civilization. Elder Tara spoke again, her voice carrying both authority and warmth. "Mark, consider what is at stake. Without this union, our people may vanish. Not only will the throne be empty, but knowledge, culture, history that have survived for millennia could be lost forever. Alira is our last hope, and you may be hers." Mark felt the enormity of her words. He wanted to retreat, to say he could not help. Yet as he looked at Alira, he saw not a fragile princess, but a person who carried the weight of generations. There was no fear in her expression, only determination and quiet hope. "I need to know more," Mark said finally. "If I am to consider this, I need to understand your people, your traditions, and the meaning behind what you ask. I cannot act blindly. You will learn everything. My mother has already shown you glimpses. Soon you will see the trials, the responsibilities, and the life that waits beyond this choice. But I will tell you this, if you stand with me, it will not be a simple path. You will face challenges unlike any you have known."
"Oh."
The elder's voice softened. "Mark, this is not a request of power or pride. It is a request for courage and compassion. Your choice can save lives, not just mine, but all who remain of our kind. You may feel unworthy, but that is not what matters. What matters is willingness. Willingness to see another life as deeply as you see your own, to protect it, and to act even when fear rises." Mark looked at the water again. The reflections showed images of the Vera people in happier times, cities full of life, celebrations, knowledge being shared among generations. And then the reflection shifted to ruin, empty halls, broken towers, and silent streets. The difference between what had been and what could be lost was staggering. Alira stepped closer. "Mark, I do not wish for you to feel trapped or forced. This is a plea, not a demand. But know this, every day that passes, hope grows weaker. Every moment without action, our future slips further away. If you truly care about the survival of life beyond your own, then you will see the truth in what my mother asks." Mark felt a strange mixture of fear and resolve. He was a human in a room filled with aliens, yet he was not an outsider here. He was being asked to make a difference, to step into a role that mattered far beyond his own life. "I want to help," Mark said finally, his voice steady. "But I cannot promise I will succeed. I can promise that I will try to understand and that I will stand with you as best I can." Alira's eyes softened, and for the first time she smiled faintly. "That is all I ask, Mark. All I could hope for. Understanding is the first step, and trust is the second. In time, you may find that your presence here is not a burden, but a bridge, a way to unite our worlds and ensure that life, knowledge, and hope endure. Elder Terra placed a gentle hand on Mark's shoulder. Come, we will begin. You will meet others, learn our history, and see the ways in which humans and Vera might stand together. There is much to show you, and time is not on our side. But if you walk this path, know that every step you take brings new strength, not only to our people, but to yourself. Mark nodded, feeling a weight on his shoulders, yet also a strange lightness. He had never considered himself heroic. He had never thought of his choices as life-altering for anyone beyond himself. And yet here, on this distant planet, he understood the truth of what Tira and Alira said. Courage, endurance, and compassion were not just traits for survival. They were gifts that could shape the course of entire civilizations. As they walked deeper into the palace, Mark noticed the subtle details of Vera life. Holographic images of their ancestors appeared on walls, not to demand respect, but to tell stories. The halls were filled with symbols of learning and discovery, tools for navigation, books of history, and devices that projected knowledge directly into the mind. Every artifact spoke of a people who had once thrived, who had explored, invented, and endured. And yet, there was a quiet melancholy in the air, as if every object carried a memory of what had been lost. Alira spoke softly as they moved. Our people once spanned many worlds. We traded, explored, and learned. But as centuries passed, we became isolated. Fewer births, fewer connections, and our strength waned. Now, only a few of us remain. And without a union that bridges worlds, our story may end here. Mark thought of Earth, of humanity, and of all the times people had struggled and persevered. Perhaps that was why the Vera sought him. Humans were unpredictable but resilient. They could adapt and find hope where others saw none. Maybe that unpredictability was exactly what the Vera needed. Finally, they reached a smaller chamber, where a table was set with objects unfamiliar to Mark. There were artifacts of knowledge, relics of power in simple things, flowers from distant planets, vessels filled with glowing liquid, and crystal maps that floated in the air. Alira gestured for him to sit. You will stay here for a time, she said. Learn our ways, see the world from our perspective, and know the challenges you may face. Only then can you make a choice. I do not ask for an immediate answer, but know that even now your presence changes the course of what may come. Mark took a deep breath, settling into a chair. He looked at the princess, at the elder, and at the softly glowing artifacts around him. For the first time in his life, he felt that his journey was more than trade, more than survival. It was a journey that could shape history. Alira smiled faintly. I know this is much to take in, Mark, but in time, you will understand. And when you do, you will see why your heart, your courage, and your choices are needed more than anything else in the stars. Mark nodded silently. He did not know what lay ahead. He did not know if he could fulfill the role the Vera asked of him. But he knew one thing clearly: he could not walk away. To do so would be to turn his back on something far greater than himself. And for the first time, he felt that perhaps he was ready to rise to a challenge, unlike any he had ever faced. Outside, the lavender sky deepened into evening, and the twin moons rose above the horizon. Light reflected off the crystal walls of the palace, bathing the room in colors that seemed alive. Mark watched the moon silently, thinking of the choice before him. One day, he would have to decide if he would take Alira's hand, if he would become part of the survival of an entire civilization. But for now, he could only listen, learn, and prepare. And in that quiet moment, he felt a strange connection, not just to Alira or her people, but to the larger universe itself. For the first time, he realized that the heart of humanity might not be found in strength or skill alone, but in the willingness to act, to care, and to stand when others cannot. The morning sun of the lavender world cast a gentle glow over the crystal palace as Mark awoke. He felt a strange mixture of anticipation and unease. Today, he would begin the trial that would show whether he was truly capable of standing with Alira and the Vera people. Elder Tira had promised him that this test was not one of combat alone, but of courage, patience, and understanding. Yet even with that knowledge, Mark felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Alira was waiting for him outside the chamber. Her silver hair shimmered in the morning light, and her violet eyes seemed to hold both reassurance and a quiet challenge. She spoke softly. "Mark, are you ready? What lies ahead is not simple. It will test every part of who you are. But remember, you are not alone. I will be with you, and together we can face what comes." Mark nodded, trying to steady himself. "I am ready. I may not know everything, but I will do my best." They walked through the palace doors into a courtyard filled with mist. The ground was smooth crystal, reflecting the sky and the soft glow of orbs hovering in the air. Elder Tira appeared behind them. "The trial begins here," she said. "The path you will follow will take you through the ruins of our ancient city. There, the true challenges await. You will face puzzles, obstacles, and moments where courage alone may not be enough. Observe, think, and act. Show not only skill, but heart." Mark glanced at Alira. She gave him a small nod of encouragement. Together, they stepped into the mist, and the world shifted around them. In an instant, the courtyard dissolved into a vast, ancient city. Towering structures loomed overhead, some broken and crumbled with age. Bridges arched over empty chasms, and the streets were lined with statues of long-forgotten leaders. A soft hum filled the air, as if the city itself was alive and aware of their presence. "The first part of the trial," Lyra explained, "is to navigate the labyrinth of echoes. It is easy to become lost if your mind is not focused. Listen carefully, think clearly, and trust your instincts." Mark took a deep breath and stepped forward. The labyrinth was not ordinary. The walls shifted as they moved, and strange lights flickered, creating illusions of passages that did not exist. Mark focused on his senses, noting subtle differences in the reflections on the walls and listening to faint sounds that guided him. He realized that fear would lead him astray, but calm observation would allow him to progress. Alira moved beside him, silent and attentive. She occasionally pointed out patterns or signals that Mark had missed. The two worked in quiet harmony, each learning from the other. Mark realized that this trial was not only testing his courage, but also his ability to cooperate and understand another being's perspective. Hours seemed to pass as they navigated twisting corridors and hidden chambers. At one point, Mark nearly fell into a deep pit that appeared suddenly beneath his feet. Alira reacted instantly, grabbing his arm and pulling him back. "Focus," she whispered. "Your instincts are strong, but you must also see with your mind, not only your eyes." Mark nodded, grateful for her guidance. Together they moved carefully, avoiding hazards and solving intricate puzzles. One chamber presented a series of symbols that required memory and reasoning. Another had floating platforms suspended over a seemingly bottomless abyss, requiring precise timing and steady courage. Finally, they emerged from the labyrinth into a wide plaza. In the center stood a massive statue of a Vera ancestor, its eyes glowing faintly. Elder Tara appeared, her expression solemn. "You have passed the first stage," she said. "But the trial is not yet complete. Now, you will face the test of resolve." The plaza shifted, and the ground beneath them opened into a deep chasm. From the shadows emerged spectral figures, illusions of past challenges and fears. Mark recognized visions of failure, of loss, and of people he had failed in his own life. Each figure spoke in voices that seemed real, taunting him with doubt. Mark felt his heart race. He wanted to turn, to flee, but Alira's presence grounded him. She stepped forward and took his hand. "Do not let them control you," she said. "They are not real. They are shadows of what you fear, not what you are. Remember why you are here and focus on what matters." Mark closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. He remembered the elder's words about courage, patience, and heart. He remembered the plight of Alira and her people. Slowly, he opened his eyes, looked at the illusions, and stepped forward with determination. With each step, the shadows weakened, fading into mist. Mark's resolve grew stronger. He realized that the true test was not about avoiding fear, but about acting despite it. The illusions vanished, and the chasm closed, leaving a solid path. Elder Tira appeared again. You have faced fear and uncertainty with clarity. You have shown that you can act with courage and care. The final stage awaits, the challenge of compassion. Mark and Alira approached a large hall, where a group of Vera children and elders appeared, trapped in a collapsing structure. The walls shifted and cracked, simulating danger. Mark instinctively moved to protect them, guiding the young and frail to safety while ensuring the elders were not harmed. Every decision required thought and careful judgment. There was no room for haste, only careful observation and quick, compassionate action. Alira assisted him, showing him safe routes and offering support. Mark noticed that his actions not only saved lives in the simulation, but strengthened his connection with Alira. They communicated without words, understanding each other's intentions instinctively. He realized that partnership was as important as individual courage, and that together, they could face challenges that neither could handle alone. When the final child was safe, the hall shifted back to normal, and Elder Tira stepped forward. Her expression filled with quiet pride. Mark, you have shown strength, courage, and heart. You have passed the trial not because of force, but because you acted with understanding, patience, and compassion. You are not only capable of standing with Alira, but you embody the qualities that may save our people. Mark exhaled, feeling relief and exhaustion. He had faced fears, solved puzzles, and guided lives through danger. Yet more than that, he felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. He looked at Alira, who smiled at him warmly. You have done more than I hoped, she said. You have shown that humans can offer more than strength, that they can offer heart and understanding. The elder spoke once more. Mark, you see now why you were chosen. Your courage is remarkable, but it is your willingness to act with care and thought that makes you fit to stand with our people. Not all who try succeed, but you have succeeded in the ways that matter most. Mark felt a strange pride mixed with humility. He was not a hero by birth, nor by expectation. He was a human, simple in his own ways. Yet he had proven that he could rise to a challenge far greater than himself. He realized that this trial was not only for Alira and her people, but for himself as well, a discovery of the strengths within that he had never truly acknowledged. Alira stepped closer. Mark, the trial is complete, but this is only the beginning. You now understand the responsibilities you may choose to accept. Our people have hope again, because you faced the challenges not with arrogance or fear, but with heart. Mark nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection to Alira and the Vera. I understand. I cannot promise the future, but I promise to stand with you, to learn and to act with what I have. The elder smiled. Then you are ready to make your choice when the time comes. Know that whatever path you take, the courage you have shown here will guide you, and the heart you have revealed will inspire our people for generations. Mark looked around at the ruins, the floating lights, and the soft glow of the palace beyond. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced fears and doubts, solved puzzles, and protected lives. He had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. And he had discovered that partnership, understanding, and compassion were just as vital as strength. Alira reached for his hand. You have passed the test, Mark, but more importantly, you have shown what it means to care, to act, and to stand when others cannot. That is the gift that humans bring to the stars, the heart that endures, the courage that inspires, and the ability to rise above fear. Mark squeezed her hand gently. I understand now, and I will continue to learn. I will continue to act. Whatever comes next, I will stand with you. Elder Tira looked at them both, her eyes filled with pride and hope. Then the path forward is clear. You are ready to face the future together, to protect our people and to bring hope where despair has lingered too long. The trial was not merely a test of strength or skill, but of the human heart, and you have shown it in abundance. The lavender sky outside deepened as evening approached, the twin moons rising above the horizon. The city, though ancient and broken, seemed brighter now. Mark realized that the trial had not only prepared him, but had also given him insight into the world of Alira and her people. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and responsibility, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. And in that moment, he understood the truth that Elder Tira and Alira had tried to convey from the beginning, that the strength of a human heart, when guided by courage and compassion, could change the fate of worlds. The day after the trial, the air in the Vera Palace felt different. It was quieter, as if the lavender skies themselves were waiting for what was to come. Mark had spent the night reflecting on everything he had learned, the history of the Vera, the fragility of their civilization, and the courage he had discovered within himself during the trial. Yet he knew the real challenge was still ahead. It was time to make a choice, one that would change not only his life, but the future of an entire species. Alira met him in the central chamber, her expression calm but serious. "Mark," she said softly, "you have seen what our people face. You have walked the path of the trial, and you have shown courage, heart, and understanding. But now, you must decide. Will you stand with us, or will you return to your world?" Mark looked around the crystal walls of the chamber. They reflected his own image back at him, not just as a human, but as someone carrying a responsibility far greater than he had imagined. He felt the weight of that reflection, the pull of a decision that could not be undone. Mark began, searching for words. "I understand what is being asked of me. I understand the weight, and I understand the risk. But I need to know that I can make a difference, that my presence will truly help your people." Alira stepped closer, her violet eyes meeting his. "Mark, your presence has already helped. You have shown qualities that even the strongest of Vera leaders have lost. Courage, wisdom, compassion. These are not measured by strength alone. You have them in abundance, and that is why my mother pleaded for you to be here." Mark took a deep breath. Thinking of the ruins he had seen, the ancient cities that had crumbled under time and neglect, and the lives of countless Vera who had waited for a chance at hope. "I want to help," he said finally. "But I do not know what it truly means to bind my life to another civilization. I have lived my life alone, making my own choices. This is bigger than anything I have faced." Alira reached out, gently taking his hand. "I do not ask you to leave your humanity behind, Mark. I ask you to see beyond it, to recognize that the strength of one person, guided by heart and courage, can change the fate of many. The choice is yours, but know that if you accept, you do not stand alone. We face this together as partners." Mark felt a warmth in her hand, a quiet strength that seemed to settle the storm of doubt in his mind. He thought of the trial, of how they had worked together, protected each other, and solved challenges that neither could have faced alone. He realized that the bond between them was not just about survival, but about trust, understanding, and shared purpose. Elder Tira entered the chamber, her expression calm but urgent. "Mark, the decision must be made soon. Other leaders of the Vera, wait for your answer. Some doubt, some hope, and some fear of what will come. Your choice will not only shape the future of my daughter, but the survival of our people. You must decide." Mark looked at the elder, then back at Alira. He could see the hope in her eyes, the quiet trust she had placed in him. He could feel the weight of generations resting on his shoulders. Yet, at the same time, he felt a spark of determination. He was not a soldier or a leader, but he had survived, learned, and grown. He understood that true courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. "I will stand with you," Mark said finally, his voice steady. "I will do what I can to help your people, to protect them, and to ensure that their history and culture endure. I do not know what the future holds, but I will face it with you." Lyra's eyes brightened and a faint smile appeared on her lips. "Then we take the first step together," she said. "Not as ruler and subject, but as partners. Together, we will face the challenges that come and build a future that honors both our peoples." Elder Tara nodded, a tear glimmering in her eye. "You have made the right choice, Mark. Your courage and heart have proven that humans are more than what many believe. You are a beacon of hope, not only for my daughter, but for all of us." With the decision made, Mark felt a sense of relief and determination. Yet he knew that accepting the responsibility was only the beginning. There would be challenges, dangers, and tests of character ahead. The path would not be easy, but he now understood that true strength was not measured by battles won or obstacles overcome, but by the willingness to stand for others, to protect what is important, and to act with heart. Alira guided Mark to the balcony of the palace, where they could see the lands of the Vera stretching far and wide. Ruined cities, forests, rivers, and mountains all glowed under the soft light of the twin moons. "This is what we protect," she said, "and this is what we hope to restore. With you, perhaps we can bring life back to our people and ensure that our legacy endures." Mark looked at the lands below, imagining the lives that depended on him, the history that had survived through countless generations, and the future that he could help shape. "I understand," he said softly. "I will do everything I can to protect this, to help your people, and to stand by you." Alira smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression. "Then we begin. The first steps may be small, but every choice we make together will lead us closer to restoring hope. You have already proven your worth, Mark. Now we continue, not as strangers, but as partners, as allies, and perhaps, in time, as something more." The elder spoke once more, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Mark, know that your journey is just beginning. The choice you have made will not be without trials. But your courage, heart, and understanding have brought you to this moment. Stand strong, and the Vera will stand with you." Mark took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility and the warmth of newfound purpose. He had chosen to stand with Alira and her people, and in doing so, he had embraced a future filled with both challenges and hope. He realized that true heroism was not about glory or power, but about the willingness to act, to protect, and to care. Alira reached for his hand again, her touch reassuring. "Together," she said simply. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Mark nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He did not know what dangers awaited, what challenges they would face, or how the future would unfold. But he knew one thing clearly: he would not face it alone. He had chosen to stand with Alira, to protect her people, and to honor the trust that had been placed in him. The lavender sky above shimmered with the light of distant stars, and the twin moons rose higher, casting their glow over the palace and the lands beyond. Mark felt a sense of calm and purpose. The choice had been made, and the path forward was clear. Together, he and Alira would face whatever lay ahead, guided by courage, heart, and the unbreakable bond they had begun to form as they stood on the balcony. Mark understood the truth that Elder Tira had always known, that humans, with their resilience, compassion, and courage, could make a difference in ways that even the most advanced civilizations might overlook. And now he would prove it, not just for Alira, not just for the Vera, but for the enduring spirit of humanity itself. The palace around them seemed to hum softly, as if in approval. The choice had been made, and with it came hope, fragile, bright, and full of possibility. Mark and Alira stood side by side, ready to face the trials and adventures that awaited, knowing that together they could achieve what neither could accomplish alone. And for the first time in his life, Mark felt truly part of something greater than himself, a story that spanned generations, species, and worlds, a story of courage, partnership, and hope that would shine across the stars for years to come. The lavender sky had softened into dawn, and a gentle breeze flowed through the crystal palace. Mark stood beside Alira, feeling the calm before what he sensed would be a momentous day. The choice had been made. He had pledged to stand with the Vera people, to protect them, and to honor the trust placed in him. But now, the time had come to see what that pledge truly meant, not in words, but in action. Elder Tira appeared at the balcony, her presence serene and commanding. "Mark, Alira," she said, "today marks the beginning of a new chapter. The Vera people have awaited this day for generations. You have proven your courage, your heart, and your understanding. Now, you will bind your lives together, and in doing so, bring hope to all who remain of our kind." Mark glanced at Alira. Her eyes shone with quiet strength, and her hand reached for his. In that simple gesture, he felt a connection stronger than any he had ever known. Together, they would face the future. Together, they would protect a civilization. The palace began to fill with Vera citizens, their expressions a mixture of awe, hope, and curiosity. Many had doubted that a human could stand with their princess. Now they watched as the man who had walked the trial faced fear, and acted with courage prepared to join their world. Alira's voice rang clear and gentle across the chamber. People of the Vera, today we witness not only a union of hearts, but a union of strength, courage, and hope. Mark has proven himself worthy, not through power or skill alone, but through his heart. He has chosen to stand with us, and in doing so, brings a new future to our people. Mark felt a swell of emotion. He had never imagined that his life would lead to this moment, standing in a chamber of alien citizens, pledging to protect and uphold the legacy of a people whose history spanned millennia. Yet he knew that this was not about him. It was about Alira, the Vera people, the chance to preserve a civilization from fading into memory. Elder Tira stepped forward, holding a crystal vessel that glowed softly. This ceremony is not merely symbolic. It is a bond of trust, unity, and mutual protection. The act we perform today signifies the joining of human courage with Vera wisdom, and together, we will face the challenges of the future. Mark took a deep breath. He thought of the trial, the fears he had faced, and the lessons he had learned. Courage was not just the absence of fear. Strength was not just physical power. True heroism, he realized, came from choice, compassion, and the willingness to act even when the outcome was uncertain. Alira stepped closer, her hand in his. Mark, do you pledge to stand with me and the Vera people, to protect our lives, culture, and history, whatever may come? Mark met her gaze, steady and sincere. I pledge it, he said. I will stand with you, protect your people, and do everything in my power to ensure that hope endures. I do not know the future, but I will face it with you. Alira's hand tightened around his. Then our bond is sealed, she said. Together, we will build a future that honors both our peoples. Elder Tira lifted the crystal vessel and poured its glowing contents into 2 smaller cups. Drink, and in doing so, acknowledge your unity and the shared responsibility you now carry. Mark and Alira drank from the vessel, feeling warmth and light spread through them. It was not magic in the way humans understood, but a deep, resonating energy that connected them to each other and to the legacy of the Vera. Mark felt a sense of clarity and purpose unlike anything he had ever known. The chamber erupted into quiet celebration. The citizens of the Vera approached, offering smiles, nods, and soft words of encouragement. Many had once feared that a human could not understand or honor their culture. Now, they saw that courage, heart, and understanding were not limited to any one species. A human, they realized, could embody qualities that even the most advanced Vera had struggled to uphold. Mark noticed the pride in Alira's eyes as she looked upon her people. They believe in you, she said softly. As I do, together we will protect what matters. He nodded, feeling the weight of her trust and the responsibility it carried. I will not fail, he promised. Not as long as I have you by my side. The rest of the day passed in ceremony, celebration, and quiet reflection. Mark walked through the palace with Alira, meeting the leaders, the scholars, and the citizens who had survived the decline of their civilization. Each encounter reminded him of the stakes, the history that could be lost, the lives that depended on their strength, and the hope that their unity now represented. As the sun dipped low in the lavender sky, the palace courtyard filled with light. Mark and Alira stood together, overlooking the lands that stretched beyond the city. Ruins dotted the landscape, but the rivers sparkled, and forests whispered in the evening breeze. Here, life still pulsed, waiting to be nurtured, protected, and restored. This is only the beginning, Alira said quietly. There will be challenges, hardships, and trials ahead. But together, we are stronger than we ever were alone. Humanity and Vera united can face what the universe brings. Mark looked at the horizon, at the lands waiting to be healed, and the people relying on their courage. I understand, he said. And I am ready. Whatever comes, we face it together. Not just for survival, but for hope, for life, and for the future. Elder Tira approached, her expression a mix of pride and relief. Mark, your presence has brought more than hope. You have shown the stars what humans are capable of: courage, heart, and the ability to rise when others falter. Today, the Vera begin to heal, not only through tradition or power, but through the choices of one human willing to stand with us. Mark felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known. He had started this journey as a traveler, seeking adventure and trade. Along the way, he had faced fear, uncertainty, and responsibility. He had learned the meaning of courage, the importance of compassion, and the strength of partnership. Now, he stood as a symbol of hope, not because of what he had done alone, but because of the bond he shared with Alira and the trust of the Vera people. Night fell over the Lavender world, the twin moons casting silver light across the palace and the lands beyond. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the sense of possibility and renewal that filled the hearts of all who witnessed the union. Mark and Alira walked together through the palace gardens, where flowers glowed faintly in the moonlight and soft streams whispered over crystal stones. "This is more than I ever imagined," Mark said softly. "I never thought I could make such a difference. Yet here I am standing with you, ready to face whatever comes." Alira smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the moons. "And that is why you were chosen. Not because you are strong or skilled, but because your heart is capable of hope, courage, and understanding. That is the gift of humanity, the ability to rise, even in the face of impossible odds." Mark took her hand, feeling a sense of unity that went beyond words. "Then we face it together. Whatever the universe holds, we will endure. For your people, for your history, and for hope itself." Elder Tara appeared nearby, watching them with quiet pride. "The story of this day will be told for generations," she said. "A human and a Vera princess, united not by obligation, but by courage, heart, and choice. This is a tale of hope that will echo across the stars, a reminder that even in the darkest times, life and courage can prevail." Mark and Alira looked at the horizon once more. The world stretched before them, full of potential and challenges, yet they felt ready. Together, they had faced trials, doubts, and fear. Together, they had made a choice that would shape the future. And together, they would build a life that honored the past, protected the present, and inspired hope for generations to come, as they stood in the moonlight. Side by side, Mark realized that this was more than a union of two people. It was a union of courage and compassion, humanity and Vera, hope and action. And in that unity, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging that the future, though uncertain, was worth striving for. And so, with hearts steadfast and spirits united, Mark and Alira began their journey together, a journey not only of survival, but of hope, courage, and the enduring power of the human heart.